just a little ways behind me here, there is what we call a yellowjacket nest. They go by different names. Yellowjackets is what most people around here call them at, but what it amounts to is a whole lot of pain if you stumble upon a nest like this and you don't know it, and they will quickly let you know it. So and since we've moved here, really, we have seen a number of these nests in the area, but what we've discovered is that these nests, these yellowjacket nests, can provide a lot of benefit to your garden and to things that you grow. They are a pest killer. They are a predator of things that eat the things in your garden. And so they can provide an amazing amount of benefit to your garden and to the things that you grow for food on your homestead. And so what we've decided to do is sort of make a peace treaty with these critters. The yellowjackets do serve an amazing purpose. There is a reason they do exist, and we have found through research and just letting them exist here on the homestead that they do protect your garden from things like aphids. They protect your garden from things like caterpillars and mothworms, things like that would eat your brassicas, that are a heavy target for your brassicas, things like that, because there's a lot of pests out there that really will do some damage on things like cabbages and broccolis and Brussels sprouts and things like that you would grow in your garden, especially in the spring. And so what we've discovered is by keeping a few of these nests around, some of these yellowjackets around, and even wasp nests in certain locations, we can kind of help put some pressure on those pests who would normally destroy our garden. Tomatoes is another thing. A lot of times you will find tomatoes with heavy attacks of aphids. And two critters, the yellowjackets being one, and also daddy longlegs being the other, will really do a number on the aphids who would normally decimate your tomato crop. And so the whole point of this is that when you find a yellowjacket's nest, if you find them, don't necessarily take it out. Don't necessarily allow the knee-jerk reaction of getting rid of that yellowjacket's nest. Now, what we've decided to do is go ahead and allow these nests to exist in some locations around the homestead. If it's out of the way of where my children are going to play or where other guests who come to the homestead may stumble upon, then I'll let it exist. If it's somewhere where we can run into it, or livestock can run into it, or my children especially can run into it, then we get rid of it. And that goes the same way with wasp nest. But allowing these things to exist will provide an amazing benefit to your garden. And so before you have the knee-jerk reaction of taking a nest like this out, go ahead and evaluate whether or not its location could be beneficial to you. Again, these things provide an amazing benefit to your garden, taking out pests like caterpillars, aphids, and a whole bunch of other things. Now, as the summer progresses, they will begin to go after other food sources, and not so much the pests, but they'll still provide pressure on certain pests that can be beneficial. The other one that I mentioned was daddy longlegs. We have found that daddy longlegs are your best friend in the garden. Amazing amount of benefit. They will go after aphids like nothing else. And and so I didn't really know this until I did some research on daddy longlegs, and I kind of found it out by accident that I think the Latin name of the daddy longleg, the scientific Latin name, actually means aphid sucker. And so they will go after the aphids, and they have provided an amazing resource for our garden and keeping things healthy and growing. Now, listen, there's always going to be pest pressures. There's always going to be a certain amount of loss when it comes to pressures, certain pest pressures in your garden. And so what I always recommend people do is that they make sure they always plant more than they think they're going to need, because you're going to lose some to disease. This year we've lost some to fungus because we had heavy rainfalls in the spring, and there's always going to be pest pressures. We lost a few to pest. To some pests, but you know what? By I think keeping this nest here in the background for the yellowjackets, we didn't have one tomato hornworm loss this year. Last year we had a couple of hornworm losses, and they just basically will devastate an entire tomato plant overnight. We didn't have that problem this year, and I'm going to just go on a limb here and attribute that to this nest that was over here from the yellowjackets. They will eat the worms right off the plants if they find them. It was an amazing thing when we first moved out here and we started building this garden and tearing up the ground for the greenhouse. There was an amazing amount of yellowjackets just hovering over the whole ground looking for pests and worms and insects that they could, you know, grab and carry off back to their nest. They are ferocious when it comes to taking care of pest pressures. So again, the whole point of this video, when you find a nest like this, use caution, and if you can, allow it to survive if it's not going to interfere with you know, your family and maybe those folks who maybe live around you. All right, we'll leave it at that. We'll see you next time on American Homestead. If you enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up button below the video. It really makes creating these videos worthwhile. If you want to make sure to never miss a new video, be sure to click the subscribe button. Now you can get your homesteading questions answered. Visit us at our contact page on AmericanHomestead.com and send us your questions. Maybe we'll pick your question for a future video or article on our website. Alright, this is about as close as I'm going to get to this thing. So just so you can see the nest right there, that is, I don't know if you can see them coming out of there, but right now I have the camera on a really long pole. And so the goal is not to move fast, no sudden movements, and hopefully they won't attack me. There's an amazing amount of them there. Look at that. Okay, we're going to back away now. The idea is to always have a place where you can run to.